TV. I'm Fernando Uribe. Here we're about to wrap up hour one, and John Tobacco will be joining us here at the top of the next hour. So you definitely want to stay tuned here. A lot to discuss about what's going on, and some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, out of the state of Georgia. Yes, Governor Brian Kemp in Georgia has again called for a quote signature audit of election results, citing a widely disputed video presented Thursday by President Trump's lawyer Rudy Giuliani and his legal team. Now, the governor of Georgia has told Fox News' Laura Ingraham late last week that the audit was something that Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger would have to order. But since Kemp's November 20th request, he has not done that, and the governor has gone to say that he believes it should be done. Now, the request, for those of you not aware, was to compare signatures on a sample of absentee ballot envelopes with the ones found on a voter registrations application. It's what county election workers do when the paper absentee ballots arrive by mail or at a drop box before separating the ballots to be scanned. Now, Trump volunteer Jack Pick narrated the video of election workers tabulating the Fulton County ballots at a State Farm arena at a Thursday State Senate subcommittee hearing. Now, she said it showed an election worker retrieving 4, quote, suitcases of ballots from beneath the table that workers tabulated after poll watchers were sent away. Kemp told Laura Ingraham, quote, especially with what we saw today, it raises more questions. There needs to be transparency. Now, last Friday, 3 Republican U.S. House members from Georgia, members-elect Andrew Clyde and Marjorie Taylor Greene, along with Representative Jody Hice, who represent part of the Augusta, Georgia area, signed a letter demanding that Attorney General William Barr investigate, quote, the suitcase of ballots and the claim. Now, Chief Defender of the state's election processes, Election Systems Implementation, Gabriel Sterling, denied Pick's characterization early Friday in a tweet, saying that certified law enforcement investigators for the Secretary of State's office had watched the hours-long video in its entirety and, quote, shows normal ballot processing. Folks, I don't know about you, but after seeing these developments and other things that we're watching surface throughout other states that are quite relevant during this election process, I don't know about you, but you should have questions also. And I know that the president and his message has not been always the smoothest in its delivery, but a lot of his supporters, which include his legal team and advocates that have gone for the president on cable news to discuss the matter, have a valid point here. Folks, this isn't some concocted, fabricated video about what's going on in Georgia. From all intents and purposes, it looks like a legitimate video that has not been doctored, a legitimate video that should raise a lot of eyebrows in the state of Georgia as to what's going on there. And folks, trust me, if we've seen a lot of discrepancies in states like Pennsylvania, states like Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, and Wisconsin alike, you should have questions too. And this is not right-wing hysteria. This is not anyone being a sore loser or crying sour grapes. Folks, all we want is the process to be fair, okay? And if it's not fair, and if there's some sort of display, when it comes to, the discrepancies that exist, I don't know about you, but you need to be as outraged as I am, okay? And this is something that, quite frankly, you should all pay attention to. And as I've talked about not only on my show, but John has talked about here on Liquid Lunch 4 weeks now, the idea that the process needs to be accurate and it needs to be fair, okay? When everything's counted correctly and any discrepancies are, clarified, if the president lost fair and square, the president has gone on record this weekend saying that, yes, if he lost fair and square, he'll concede, okay? But there's no reason for him to concede right now because the process hasn't been fair, okay? And this is not some right-wing hysteria because, folks, even the traditional right-wing news institutions like Fox News are trying to downplay this sort of narrative, which has caused Fox News, for all intents and purposes, to lose a lot of viewership, and which is why you're seeing news outlets like Newsmax, okay, continue to rise in popularity and having enormous spikes in their traffic. That is something that I would argue is worth keeping an eye out for. And as I alluded to earlier during this broadcast, yes, my thoughts and prayers are with Rudy Giuliani as he tested positive for COVID-19. We have to see what impact it's had on the rest of the president's legal team. But folks, if we're seeing videos like this out of Georgia, I guarantee you we can find other things going on in other states. Now, I've talked about this before. For a guy who had a YouTube presser who had maybe barely 2,000 views over the weekend, you expect me to believe that Joe Biden got 80 million votes when he barely had 2,000 views over the weekend on a YouTube video? Folks, something's not right here. All right? And for a guy that was campaigning literally out of his basement for all of the fall, somehow he got more votes than the guy he used to work for, Barack Obama? Ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm engaging in some sort of conspiracy theory, because it isn't a conspiracy theory. It's as clear as day. I'm hoping that in these next few weeks, because I understand that votes have to be certified by certain states, but if there are legal proceedings that are going to delay that, bravo, good for them. Folks, we want this process to be fair and accurate. We want this process to be, as accurate as possible. And I find it hard to believe, and I know so do millions of Americans, that while the president lacks decorum and oftentimes lacks the ability to be presidential, listen, he was a much better alternative than a guy who's catering to the far left and someone who's his running mate that is within a heartbeat of the presidency. Let's be honest. She's as vile and despicable a woman as you'll ever see in public office. And she could potentially be vice president? I mean, my God, that should scare the hell out of you. I know it does me. And it's something definitely keep an eye out for. So again, breaking news, folks, out of the state of Georgia, the governor calling once again for an audit of signatures right now with ballots there in that state. So we'll find out what happens. Folks, we'll be right back after a few messages. And just as a programming alert, at the top of the next hour, I've just been informed John Tobacco will not be here. I'll have to fill in for hour 2, so I'm proud to do that. John, again, thank you in advance for the opportunity. And certainly, folks, we'll have a lot to cover in hour 2 right here on a Monday on Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. We'll be right back right after this.